Father God, we do this morning. We're mindful and thankful for our country and the freedoms we do enjoy. We're also mindful of those that suffered loss, and we pray for them and their families. Pray for those that protect our county, those are first responders and those who wear a badge and uniform. Keep them safe, that we might continue to have freedom and peace in this country and also in this county and state. So abide with us now for business for the county, and we ask in the name of Christ.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. First item of business today from our last meeting would be the minutes that we sent via email. Any alterations or corrections? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, all in favor, say aye. 3-0. All right, payroll, calendar year 2021, payroll 24 totals, $247,800.22. We had 205 claims totaling $650,038.85. Entertain a motion for the financials.
So moved.
Second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
3-0. Scott, right to you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Those cool?
Nope, not at all. You can feel my heart beating if you want to check.
No, good. As of this morning, we have 72 inmates in jail, 25 are pretrial superior, 23 pretrial circuit, 9 F6, and 8 DOC. The only updates, we're just really, the construction stuff is in full bore. They're out there digging this morning and doing some stuff where the small addition portion is being added on. They're rerouting the sewer lines there so they can start getting footers and stuff in for that, and hopefully get some concrete poured this week. The water conservation portion for the facility is complete, minus the computer that actually will give us all the reporting and stuff that is delayed. Probably in January we will get that, but the controls at least are all in at this point. We also fixed a water leak that we've had forever under one of our cells. There was a hot water leak in there. It wasn't easy. They had to cut concrete and take a bed off the wall to get to it. They finally fixed it. They did fill that in with concrete Friday. We had Bluffton run us a report, and just from the day they fixed it, we were running 700 to 1,200 gallons of water in 1 hour, and it went down to 47 to 300 gallons of water in 1 hour.
I'm just surprised we didn't have the sinkhole or something
I
develop
am
under.
surprised too, so, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, could happen
If
today.
you don't hear from us for a while and
That's what.
somebody check on us, but yeah, that was a headache that we had been dealing with for the last couple of years, trying to figure out where we were losing hot water at. But when it's under 12 inches of concrete, we finally were able to figure that out and discover that, so.
Fantastic.
Other than that, just trying to keep employees healthy. COVID obviously is still here.
It is.
So I tested a couple people this morning already, so we're already short-staffed trying to figure out those type of things, so. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report.
Fantastic. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Sean. You want to do 2 jobs? Or you just want to do the highway?
I'm just gonna do the highway.
Okay.
I'll give you the paperwork for the engineer side.
Okay, right.
You can read that.
Excellent.
We have put our, I'm gonna start here at the middle of the sheet, but we have finished our mowing for the year. We put the tractors in storage over the 4-H building. We are still working on the road conversion of 800 East. We cannot start oblique this year, which was our plan. We cannot get the power poles moved, and the road needs to go right up to the poles. So I'm working with the power company to try to get them relocated. So we're gonna continue to do a little work on 800 East, or what we can on oblique, but we're not gonna start oblique. Our bids went out for the bituminous material, stone, dust day, and fuel. They have been advertised on December 2nd, another advertisement December 9th, and then we'll have an opening on the 18th.
Appreciate you working with IT to get that on the page, so if there's any interest or whatever, it's on the county webpage, homepage, bottom right corner, so if anybody would be interested.
Yeah, it was kind of buried there for a little bit, but it's up.
Right, yeah, I
Yeah.
couldn't hardly find it, so appreciate that.
We've begun prepping our trucks for the winter season. We don't want to be caught off guard with that. They didn't watch the weather. There was a possibility of snow today, so we didn't want to have any issues with that. So we do have some trucks ready, and they're still working on others. And we got a new employee start today, so we have him in training already. Took Howard's spot, and I think he'll be a good fit to the department. And that's all I have.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you working on those trees on 450 East at that road
Does that
crossing.
look much better?
Much, yeah, appreciate that. I have yet to see the guy that called me yet. He hasn't called me, but
Yeah.
he probably will this week.
We're doing brush cutting with the weather the way it
Yeah.
is. Sometimes we can brush cut, sometimes we can work on 800, sometimes we're in the shop working on the trucks. We're just kind of balancing out our time to try to complete all tasks at hand.
Super.
Is there any way we can sweep 700 from Lund's down that road? She called me again yesterday, I went down there, and when you turn off Marzane Road onto hers, it is pretty thick. It's like you're driving down a gravel road. It's that one that all 12 people call me, just see if we can sweep it. So she's worried once the plow's headed, it's all gonna be in her front yard, and it is pretty deep. Thanks, Sean.
Fantastic. Since Nate is under the weather, I'll read a couple things, and maybe the other guys can touch on a few other things here. First item of business that was sent with NDOT, the 200 South project. They have met the deadline, and the project will be up for review late this month or January, which is 200 South from State Road 1 over to Hoosier Highway. And number 2 he has down is Bridge 99, which is the Hoosier Highway and Ash Road. It was open for traffic. They're still waiting to stripe it, and they're trying to get that done, and the only thing that's not done yet is the seeding. And the bridge was inspected last week on the 3rd, and it's going to be added into the NBIS system, so the safety system will have it on file from this point going forward.
Like, if we can't get the striping guy out there, can we hire somebody else so we can open the road?
There's a temporary on it now, but for the temperatures, they're not able to get to it till next spring
Is that what it is?
for permanent striping.
But the temporary should stick okay,
Yes,
and if not, we can reapply the
Yes.
temporaries just
And
to
that
keep
is-
safety.
and that is part of the contract for that bridge, so it's not out of our pocket, it's part of that contract.
Okay.
So as long as we keep temporary
Yes,
for safety, that's the key,
yes.
so, perfect. I'll let you guys pick up 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 if you want to.
Got it, or-
Yeah, I mean, there's not much there on 3.
I'm sorry, do you want me to come back up?
Well, community crossing matching is 450, we're gonna do a total reclamation on Teely Road, where 450 east from 1,000 to 1,200,
Yeah,
those
for
2
the-
miles.
For the boring,
And then Bridge 19, which is south toward the quarry, right on the county road, if I'm not mistaken. He's got that applied, that it went in probably last week or the week before, correct? And we'll probably know more about that, whether we'll get funding for that. The county highway construction standards, he's got a draft report for review. Waiting for comments back from Farm Bureau, get details, and later next spring, hopefully February, March area, we'll have some information whether to put that in place. Utility permits are pending, Bluffton Utilities from DLZ, and I think this is regarding the sewage projects all over the city. Some of the expansion of Dustman Road, coming in for the golf course and different areas in the county. There's some right-of-ways that we, as the county, will have to correspond and coincide with what happens with DLZ and that sewage project. Then he's got a sewer permit for extension of a force main south of Zanesville. I'm waiting for application on this from Fort Wayne. That I don't have a lot of information out of. I'm not sure if you've received any correspondence with Allen County, so. And then the last he's got is right-of-way dedications. I'm not sure how many we have.
Three.
We have 3 to approve. I'll entertain a motion to accept those unless you have questions.
Where are those at again, Blake?
These 3
Yep.
right-of-ways
Yes.
are where? We have
Well, they're all
locations.
minor subdivisions, so they're all over
So,
the
they're,
county.
they're like sell-offs.
Okay.
So, this one here is on 700 east and 400 south. I'm just looking at the front
Other
page.
one's 700 east, 1,000 south.
And south, 1,000 south. Entertain a motion to accept
Yes,
those
so
3.
moved.
Seconded.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
Do you have more information on that community crossings matching grant, John? Is there anything else on that?
It was submitted, you know when we normally get, is it in the end of January,
He
first
had
part
a
of
date on
February?
it in the past meeting for it, for a deadline, and I don't have that on hand, but I do know that he's gonna submit for it, and he's ready to submit when the time allows. You speaking of 450 East?
Yes,
Right now, we just approved the coring to see what it takes, and then he has a company looking into the cost of it.
gotcha. Gotcha.
So the coring should begin middle of December.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's happening quickly, so. All right,
I believe the exact date was the 16th.
okay. Any other questions for Sean since he's here?
I don't have any.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda is Marlene. I don't see anybody from the health department, so I know the positivity rate has continued to climb. I think we're still orange at 2.5. Around us is 3.0, except a couple counties, so it's not going away. So beware and be diligent with that. So next up, I have Ben and Donnie and Josh.
Good morning.
Hello.
Morning.
So we're here just to, like to start the process rolling to confirm that the county is still gonna go with purchasing a rescue truck from Ossian. Back in 2007, the county agreed to start purchasing rescue trucks for Bluffton. In 2015, they purchased one for Liberty Center, with 2022 being the time they were going to purchase for Ossian. So went back and forth with the previous commissioner via emails and stuff, and just wanted to see, I guess, now where we're standing with that, to confirm that that's still the plan. I have been able to get a lot of pricing around. Just over the weekend, I finally got everything back. So I didn't email it to you beforehand, but I have copies that you guys can look at when you have time.
Thank you.
I guess my question is off the gate, or
Yes.
off the top. I don't know what led to the discussion that you weren't going to get one. It's maybe fill in that
Sure,
gap, because I wasn't aware of anything.
Sure, so.
The only thing I ever heard was there wasn't a need for a rescue truck in Ossian, and I thought, but I never followed up on it, so
Yeah.
fill me in.
As far as earlier this year, is that what you mean? Or just in general?
In general,
Process?
in
Okay.
general.
So in 2007, Rescue 1, Bluffton's Rescue, was needed an update.
Yeah, we've got the whole pack, went back
Yeah.
through all the minutes from
Yeah.
Everything, news banner, articles, and everything.
So the reason, because the county is required by statute to provide rescue protection. They always had bought Rescue 1 prior. In 2007, it was learned that not only Ossian but Liberty Center also provide rescue protection and have a contract with the county to provide rescue protection. So in 2007, it was decided between Bob Plummer was the leading force on it. Rescue 1 needed replaced. And Bob came up and the commissioners came up with an idea that every 7 years a new rescue would be purchased. Again, 2007 they started, Rescue 1 for Bluffton was purchased in 2008. And then in 2014, Liberty Center came and a new rescue was purchased in 2015 for Liberty Center. Then 7 years later would be now, we'd be up for the rescue at that point.
Those minutes are not commissioners, that's the council.
And I sent both council and commissioner minutes. I sent.
They're in there.
separate packets.
I looked through that whole thing, they're all in there.
Yeah, there was one that was the one that was obscure or whatever that we ended up finding, or somebody found, so.
To all these,
Recommended lifespan on a fire apparatus is 20 years. I believe that's where that 21-year rotation was derived from. Make that clear.
so there's a lot of trucks on here, a lot of prices, what,
There are. So what I try to give you guys were a nice range of what a truck is costing. I picked 3 manufacturers that I either personally have or Bluffton has a Rosenbauer. You're really looking at anywhere from demo trucks that are out there currently available are in the range of like $477 is the lowest. To build one, you're looking right around $550,000. That is, some of these build prices or build times are anywhere from 180 days to 350 to 400 days build time. So what I tried to do was just basically load you guys with information so you could look over. My ideal truck would be one of the Spartan trucks, which is item 1 or 2. Those have demo prices and new build pricing on those. And really, if you look, I mean, Bluffton's truck that they purchased in 2007 was $449,000. You know, some of the demos are, one demo is $493 up to $530. Liberty spent $437,000 in 2014. So obviously, pricing's gone up, but not as much as I expected it to, really.
what trucks did they buy? What'd you guys buy?
Bluffton has a Spartan. Liberty got a
Something.
something.
Why are you picking the Spartan over the other two?
I would prefer to stay with either Spartan or HME for the simple fact I have a Spartan and I have an HME. I don't want to get a third type of truck. I'd rather keep with, as far as maintenance goes, repairs, that kind of stuff. Similarity with the pumps, similarity with just the truck in general.
So configurations are different.
Minor ones, but enough that I'd rather just stick with what I already have. And also those two are less expensive than the Rosenbauer. I have a 2008 Spartan that we've been very happy with. It's still in great shape, so it lasts. I know it lasts from experience. I have an HME that I just bought in 2019, and I'm very happy with it as well. So I'd be happy with either one of those. The Spartan are built. One, if we do a new build, they're about half the time on build times. Very similar in pricing. But I also like the Spartan because I have an option of a 750 gallons of water instead of 1,000. That gives me more compartment space, and that's what I'm needing is more compartment space.
On the delivery date, though, when you start looking at HME, you can get it in January of 2022, or you can get it in November of 2022. When do you need the truck if you were to get one?
I'm okay running. I'm okay running to January of 23. The biggest reason what we're looking at is my rescue is a 2003, where it's still in decent shape, but I don't run it very often for the simple fact my rescue is a rescue only, so I can't take any water with me. That's why Liberty Center went to a rescue engine several years ago, with staffing. If I have a wreck come in, I just have to choose to either take the rescue truck that has all my extrication equipment, or I have to choose to take an engine that has water if there's a fire or whatnot. I would rather make sure that I have water if the car catches on fire. So what I've done is I actually have rescue equipment on my rescue, and I also have bought additional tools with funds that we get from the county, because we do get $5,000 a year for rescue equipment that we have on our rescue, or on our engine. So very seldom do I even take my rescue anymore. I just take my engine, because I have to make sure that I can cover whatever the run comes in, because I don't have staffing and I might not be able to get a second or third truck out.
So that rescue we have now, does it have value? Once we get this new one, can we
So that one,
sell
Jefferson
it?
Township purchased that rescue. The county's never bought Ossian a rescue.
But you said you have a rescue now?
I do, that Jefferson Township
Oh,
purchased.
gotcha.
Yeah, this would be the first time that.
You're just
Ossian-
storing it for them, correct, at your facility? Or do they have their own facility to store that?
It's, so, Ossian and Jefferson Township, they have a contract with each other to provide fire protection. Jefferson Township provides equipment. They have an engine, a rescue, and 2 tankers that are stored at the town of Ossian, and the town of Ossian provides manpower for Jefferson Township. So they're in agreement to work together
Gotcha.
for that.
So this wouldn't offset the rescue you have,
It
it's an
wouldn't,
addition,
no.
okay, that's what I was asking.
Right, thanks for bringing that up. Do you want to make a decision today, or are you thinking of taking under advisement and making a decision at our next meeting, guys?
Well, I guess my question is, we're all in agreement that we'll support the agreement that we'll get a rescue truck as it was before, or?
Well, I guess my question is, if this vehicle comes in, will it replace something, or do you have a place, another
I have a
bay?
place. I have a
Another bay
place
to put
that,
it?
this would replace Jefferson Township's rescue. We would sell that rescue, this would become Rescue 6.
And then the money for that rescue goes back to Jefferson
It would go to
Township?
Jefferson Township, yeah.
I'm not sure how all that works.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
all have a
it's-
rescue, right?
Right, it's a lot of layers in between that, we weren't familiar with, just what you
Sure.
brought up with.
So we haven't
Jefferson.
talked, I don't have a problem with getting the rescue. I would like to understand how it works behind that. If that rescue sells, it's offsetting, does Jefferson Township buy into this one? More of a financial thing, but I think,
And I don't, you might be able to help, or you might be able to help. Is Rescue 1 currently, is that
Property
It's-
account.
the Tennessee County?
So it's titled in the county's name, and we
County's name.
have insurance on it, so.
So we maintain it. So like a couple years ago, turbo went out. We put a turbo in it. Any mechanical maintenance issues, we take care of. Every 2 years, we do all the routine services. So the truck is taken care of in the department it's housed in, but it belongs to the county. Just like borrow, the neighbor's lawnmower, and you mess something up on it, you're gonna fix it before you get it back, right? Well, it's kind of the same story. We take care of it, and when the time comes that hopefully in 8 years, I or another chief are sitting here, then it'll be the county's property to sell and make money from.
So would it have trade-in value, if you want to call it that? I mean, from the
that's, I
standpoint.
don't know enough about them, but
Yeah.
I do know some of those older trucks go to different states that don't have the same 21-year lifespan on there, or
Well, most departments carry 20 years or less. Your busier departments, they'll be in a 5 and 10-year rotation. Obviously, none of the departments in our county are that busy, so 20 is pretty safe for us. So 20, you're gonna roughly $500,000 for an apparatus right now. 20 years' time, 50,000. And that's gonna be a kind of top end number for it.
we do just take them to an auction, sell them off,
There's
and
different companies.
somebody buys them for something, different chassis, or,
When I purchased my engine in 2019, our engine that we replaced, that the township was replacing, it was a 21-year-old truck. I think they got either 38 or 48,000 for that truck, at 21 years old. That was also an engine, so engines are more valuable than rescues. Rescue 1, for instance, is just a rescue. There's no water on it, there's no pump on it. They're becoming more obsolete to have just a rescue. That's why like rescue engines are the really the new thing, because people have to, staffing is so low, the departments have to set up and kind of double dip and make sure that they can cover everything with one truck.
So like I'd propose that we get more detail about, if I'm looking at this and it's my checkbook, that I'm saying, tell me which one of those HMEs you want, because at the end of the day, the one's $454, if that meets your needs, why wouldn't we go for the price tag? Get all the details and then come back to us, and then let's also figure out how we get a value on the truck that we have, so we know at the end of the day what our total spend is.
And we need to figure out how we plan to finance it. I think the last one, Star Financial, we did a bond or lease agreement to figure out where our interest rate would be, and, not only what the number is now, but what the final number after 7 years, including the interest where we are. And
Sure.
council has to be on board. Steve's here, so you know what we're trying to do. We're not pulling the wool over your eyes, and, if you have input or whatever, at some point, let us know, but hopefully we can get that information back and make it at our next commission meeting.
I needed to get the ball rolling to make sure. I wanted to get as much information as I could, but I wasn't gonna go overboard with, we're not doing that anymore. I needed confirmation that we were still doing this.
I think,
So-
yeah, we support you on the rescue, I
Great.
think.
And yeah, I can definitely get more and dial in and go over specifics on what trucks are the best. I wanted to give you a rough estimate this week, and you have time to look at it over the next couple of weeks and say, yeah, okay, these are some good ideas.
Landed costs, right? Delivered here, ready to
Yeah.
roll, that's what we need to look at.
Good.
Good deal.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for
No,
the,
thank you.
thanks for the information, too.
Oh, Marlene slipped in the back corner. We put them ahead of you, but you're welcome to have the chair.
Being late, as I've said before, Monday mornings are quite a circus for us, so. So our numbers continue to rise as far as our positivity cases. We're up to past 101 deaths right now. Those have climbed a lot here within the last few weeks. Again, ages are mostly the older population. As far as the testing, we have the ability to do 72 tests on Monday mornings because we only go from 8 a.m. to 12. Typically, we are surpassing that number. On Thursdays, we go from 8 to 4:30 with just an hour for lunch, for a break for the gals. And keep in mind that they're doing these out in the parking lot. So today's weather, it's not nice out there at all. So just to set the picture for them, they're in and out, and there's 2 of them done. And on Thursdays, we can do up to 132, and again, we surpass that too. So it is not a pretty job, obviously, to be the testing, but we're trying to respond to as many people as we possibly can here in the county. The need is great. There's a few other places that are doing the testing, but unfortunately, we all have our time limits and our restrictions, and so it's, again, not a pretty picture, the way that we could respond, but we're doing our best. As far as vaccinations, those continue to grow too. In the afternoons on Mondays, we give those vaccinations. We have a full schedule today. We have a full schedule on Wednesday, and that's an all-day testing day, or vaccination day. So we, again, overbook those in most cases and try and accommodate as many people as we can. About 70% or more is mostly booster shots that we're giving at this time. So, again, trying to respond and accommodate everybody's schedules. That's a little bit difficult, but
Sure.
we're doing that. So, any questions? We're in the orange still. I don't expect that to change.
No, I mentioned it when you were up, but I
Yes.
said you're orange. I think we're 2.5.
Yeah.
And I said I could see us bumping to
Yeah.
red because
Yeah.
there's several counties, Noble
Yeah.
and DeKalb, I
And
believe.
this morning, the positivity rate on the tests already have come back.
So
They're
more than
high.
likely, we'll be turning red on Wednesday.
Possibly, yeah.
So.
So, yep, so I encourage everybody to continue to follow some guidelines.
Safety protocol.
Keep yourself, the schools, we're getting several cases in the school, and we want to keep the kids in school, but it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's being spread, so. Any more questions?
I know that COVID right now is like the hottest headline there is, but and I'm not downplaying that at all, but, you know, I'd like to understand some more of our county's health in a more of a broader view, rather than just the focus staying on COVID.
Okay,
What that looks like, I'm not completely sure yet, but I
Okay.
would lean on you for that a little
Okay.
bit. I know that you guys, the health department itself is involved in a lot of different areas.
right.
So I would like to, even if it's just a 3-minute update,
Okay.
to understand more of that and what's going on in this county
Okay,
would really be helpful, I think, to everyone. So
sure.
just a
okay.
thought, and I would like to speak a little more maybe about that another time to kind of understand more of what you could provide in that
Yeah.
area.
COVID's just an added
Right.
task to us right
Absolutely.
now.
Another wrinkle.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so, you know.
And one you didn't
when
need. No one
We
did.
have a lot of people when they call for appointments, either for testing or vaccines, and they'll say, is that all you're doing them? You know, well, we're keeping up with the other things that we're doing as well. So,
Right.
we're still giving the childhood immunizations, we still have some active TB cases. So, yeah, we're.
And I don't want those to
staying
get
alive.
overshadowed by everything else, because that's
And,
all
and
important.
that's the one thing that we're taxed with, to just
Mm-hmm.
stay up on everything that has, that we're being required, that's our daily routine.
Mhm.
It does tax us, we're a department of three persons full-time. We don't get to be idle very much of the time. This morning, our phone, of course, is ringing off the hook, but myself, I have scheduled like 20 tests just for this morning.
Wow.
So it'll just keep going, and if any of you ever want to visit or volunteer, we'd be glad to take you on.
Maybe after my ankle
Yeah, maybe.
improves. So.
So I'm going to ask another question if I can,
Sure.
or, so we have lots of people coming in, not only for COVID testing, but the Veterans Officer as well. And I've asked before, but can we somehow mark the handicap spot? Nobody knows that we have a handicap entrance here on the east side of our building. And last week, I came back from lunch only to find an older lady that had fallen trying to come up the stairs. She'd crossed the street and was trying to come up the steps out front, and she'd have never made it into the building. But it's not marked, and oftentimes when people are calling for appointments, they're asking, do you have a handicapped, or, you know, can we get in? So can we mark the handicap
Better.
entrance?
Yeah. I think there is one little
Yeah.
thing, but it would be
The
next
button is
summer,
there,
we
but
could stripe
nobody
it
sees
better,
that. But-
post better signage. and
What are your
things like that.
thoughts? Larger sign?
Yeah, larger sign, maybe that they see it from the parking lot, or even something out on the lawn there that points to that door. I don't know, something. And then the parking spot has never, we need to update it too with some paint, I don't know.
Right, the striping needs to
Yeah,
be done
yeah.
probably next summer, and
Yeah.
maybe if it's even possible to have additional space.
Yes.
Wonder, you know, I
Yeah.
don't know how, it's really a tight.
It's a tight parking
How you
lot.
have
It
to
is.
curve
Yeah.
and meander around it,
Yeah.
so.
And we've asked the
We'll
employees.
bring
that are
Bobby into
parking-
the thing too with the
Yeah.
custodian side of
That'd
it,
be
so.
And Nate might be able to do that with the
Oh,
AD.
yeah, the EMA,
Sure.
because he's our director.
Hey, Sean, do you have any, Sean,
I'm listening.
do you have any signs? Do you have any handicap signs we can get up sooner than
I don't
later?
have any, but I can obtain them.
If you could drive some posts in for now and
They
get some
have
signs up.
access.
I was making a note to check on it and maybe bring it back to see what it would cost us.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah. All
Good.
right.
Good.
Thank you.
thanks for bringing it to our
You're
attention.
welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go into other business.
First thing I have is the REMC support letter that was drafted.
Oh, that was regarding broadband, the initiative coming out of the state. And we had Chad at the Economic Development Group discuss it through it. And I said, our letter of support needs to mirror or be compatible with what you're doing. So I would recommend that we support it and sign that letter of recommendation. So,
I'm supportive. Yeah, so moved.
Second?
all in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
Next, interlocal engineering services. Was that anything you wanted to discuss today at this meeting?
Where are we at with that, Roy?
It's in Tony Crowell's side of the court.
Okay.
We both asked our insurance carriers, were the same person, different companies, same local agent, Dan Lip. So he sent ours, and we got a response back in terms of indemnification, and I drafted an indemnification clause and sent that to Crowell. I've not heard back, and then when I contacted him or sent him an email last week, he said he was waiting on word from Dan Lip. So the city's carrier came back. So that's where we are, is agreeing on mutual indemnification provisions. In that, the other thing is, we're driving the auditor nuts with respect to how the services will be.
The salary contract of what we have, and we can't have somebody
So
double dip, and.
The gist of the provision was that by statute, the county engineer can only enter an agreement with the county, or two counties if two counties hire him. But the statute also says that the executive, in this case the commissioners, can direct him to perform services for municipalities within the county. So that's how we're approaching this. The premise, as we first discussed this, was, A, can you do this and still do your county responsibilities? And he said he could. And so fine, I'm sure he would need to be compensated, and the agreement of the city is to reimburse. Nate had suggested a flat figure, and then Blake and I, and I think Tony and the mayor thought, well, we're just at the ground level, we don't know how much time this is going to take. We prefer to do this on an hourly basis. So I asked the auditor's office, Maria Hunt and Payroll, to specifically, can you tell me what he is paid per hour? And so she said, yeah. She did a pay stub for 2021 and 2022 for 1 hour's work based on those rates. And so I also included in the figures that I had the county's portion of FICA and PERF, and I don't know what else. Because the point being, if the county's going to, for every hour, the county's going to be out these additional sums, the city ought to reimburse the county for that as well. So finally, I finally learned my errors, and Lisa approved my redraft to put in both figures, both what he would be paid and what the city would be reimbursing the county based on the gross up. So we think we've got that figured out, and I sent that revision to Crowell too, but I've not heard back. But that's where we are. The other thing was, well, if he goes to a Board of Works meeting and has 2 or 3 hours in one day for the city, is he working 2 or 3 hours more at the end of the day for county, or what? So Lisa says he does turn in his hours, and she gave me a figure of the average hours that he's been doing. So my thought would be, A, keep cognizant of his work, and if there's no slippage or he's not running behind on things, that's one thing. Also keep track of his hours. If he says I've got 10 hours for the city, is that 10 hours more than what his average has been for the county? Or is it taken out of that county? But that's for the commissioners to figure out how you want to look at that. But the point being is, if he's being paid for extra work, it ought to be extra work and not double paid for, 8 to 4:30
Right.
time slot.
Absolutely. Okay.
This DLGF would have a problem with that.
I'd say.
Yeah, so we have to draft it so it meets checks all these boxes, so.
I got by the auditor, so I thought I was in good shape there.
Took a minute, didn't it?
So is somebody addressing it with Mr. Lip to make sure we can get that resolved sooner than later? Or do we need to bounce Tony
I
about
think
that?
Dan's done. He
Lynn
did
was
right.
just telling us what the carrier's saying.
Right.
And then I'm trying to, and Tony and I are trying to put in language in the contract, in the agreement, that we think satisfies what our carriers are suggesting.
Okay.
But you've put in the language you're comfortable with, we're just waiting on Tony.
Well,
to come
I
back
made a
with
shot, and I was comfortable with it, knowing that Tony's gonna tear it apart and come
Yeah,
back
right.
better. one.
Yeah, right.
So,
That's what he normally does.
he's-
Understood.
He's my second set of eyes, and I appreciate that.
Sure. Okay.
I hope he would say the same of me if it were on the other shoe.
Yeah.
I'm sure
And I
he
think
would.
I think he started the initial draft, because if you look at the Microsoft Word, it says authored was Tony Crowell, so, you know, it's a process that we've gone through whenever we've been negotiating.
Definitely.
So that's the status there. Interlocal agreements, I know Commissioner Vanover knows because he's on the 911 advisory. The county had hired a consultant for that, and he did send a draft interlocal agreement. It came in October when I was in Florida, and after I was back a week or so, I went through it and made some changes and sent that on to Tony, and I think the commissioners, and I think maybe even the sheriff, I think you got that, but I haven't heard back from anybody as to my changes. I mean, some were obvious because it's at Delaware County, but for the.
Yeah, I did see that, yes.
The only other thing I guess I'd say is that draft had a 5-person board and 3 controlled by the city and 2 by the county, so just pointing that out. The city is the PSAP, is that the city has the PSAP, the county gets the money from the 911. So you're the pocketbook and the city's the management. So if you're okay with that, I'm just saying that's the only observation I had in time was like, okay, but you know, if they're managing it, then okay. So that's for the 2 interlocals.
Good deal. We'll bring that up, see where we're at, 2 weeks.
Okay, both interlocals.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll just follow the email trail and we'll see if we can have it ready for next go-around.
Next is the highway garage, agreement between owner and construction manager as constructor.
That was that huge document.
Right. And Jeff Quackenbush is the one who drafted that, and their retained counsel for the highway garage project. He prepared the documents, and I'm not going to read them all since he's already hired to do that. But what they asked was that the contract be signed by both Jacksons and by the commissioners. So I forwarded that to Connor, and Connor said he was going to be here.
Behind
Have
the
you
mask.
have you had to take a look at it?
I've been through it, our controller currently has it, Mark Studebaker will read through it too. I didn't
Have you seen
have
that
any
agreement?
issues, and I
Have you
suspect
seen
if they
that
have any,
agreement?
they would be very minor. And I suspect we'll have it signed and back to you this week,
Okay.
page 26 only.
Okay.
Original copies. are-
That's what they asked for was, if you could get me an original signed page 26, and I'll have the original signed 26 from the commissioners, and so between the two, I can scan and email them the signed pages that they require.
Okay, will do.
You said you are going to make changes, some changes?
I don't have any, and I doubt Mark or Kelly will. but-
He said if they did.
Yeah,
Just make sure they're highlighted so we don't have to go through the whole
Yeah,
process trying to
redlining it
figure out
or-
what they
yeah.
are.
yep.
Perfect.
I mean, it's the same document that was in the RFP, just the blanks are filled out.
Or filled out, yep.
There aren't any surprises.
So, we'll need a motion for that effect, guys.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
And the motion to approve it and authorize the commissioner president to sign, because there's only one
Yeah, I didn't see
signature
that.
from the owner.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Okay.
And we're at the county farm, termination of cash farm lease agreement.
Well, we got a lot of stuff on County Farm.
Okay,
Because we did get a rent payment.
Yes.
So,
He's
about a week and a half, 2 weeks late, but thank goodness we got it, so.
Better now than never.
Yes.
Okay, in connection with the county farm, we do have what was advertised as Track 3, the building lot, that's everything north of the county home cemetery property now, and to the legal drain to the north. That was called Track 3, and it was not surveyed before the sale, but it's since now been surveyed. Unfortunately, it wasn't surveyed in time to get before the plat committee meeting last week, so we're shooting for the 16th, I think. So I have the paperwork for the commissioners to file requesting approval of that minor subdivision for that. And I sent that to the buyers because the Area Plan Commission forms include a notice of agricultural activity, so like welcome to the country. If big smell and you don't like that, it's on you. So Ishes have seen that. Mr. Ish came in Friday and had a long meeting going over everything, including all the title commitments. But he and his wife have signed the documents there. I would ask that the commissioners approve it and authorize, again, Commissioner President to sign the application for the minor subdivision.
And make a motion to both of those issues. And so moved.
Seconded, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
The other thing, the title company, which is Wells County Land Title, on all their commitments on the 3 sales, as a requirement for them to insure the property, have requested a recorded termination of cash farm lease agreement. And okay, it makes sense because the lease agreements, both the original and the addendum, had been recorded. And so since it's recorded, I just assumed since it was recorded, they wanted something recorded to show that it was terminated. Well, I've since learned that the title company said, well, there were a number of outstanding tax warrants. And so they were kind of antsy about that, wanted to make sure that we had a termination. So I prepared a termination of cash farm lease. I've not spoken to Mr. Geiser, but the auditor tells me he wasn't happy. But I think he wasn't happy with any responsibility for restoring soil fertility.
Fertility, yeah, I think that was.
You know, on the north side, I did have an inquiry from Kurt Fichter. The Fichters bought the North Farm. And I said, well, this was really part of the agreement between the commissioners and the tenant, not intended to be a third-party agreement, because it could have been at the end of the original 3 years or any addendum that you could end up still owning it and wanting to release it, in which case, you know, you, the commissioners, had an interest to make sure the fertility had been maintained. As you recall, your terms of the agreement, the advertisement for the sale of the county farm was it's being sold as is. So I don't want the buyers to think suddenly they have vested rights in this. They bought it as is, and that's what we intended to provide them. If the tenant, if the former tenant is unhappy that he might be on the hook for restoring something, and I don't know I've seen the report and discussed that with Blake, and I don't think we've got any response back from Helena or whoever tested it to say, well, tell us what this means. What do you need? I don't know that we know.
What will it take to replenish it back? They haven't responded, so.
I don't know that we know that, but if there, I mean, you know, he's obligated to do it, but we need to close and need to sell. One possible thing was, if you don't think that replenishment is material to the county, because the county won't get 1 more cent or 1
Right.
less cent, depending on the fertility restoration, then one thing might be to say, and that's what I did in the latest version of the termination, I put in a provision that this also terminates any obligation on his part to restore the fertility. I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying if you don't care and agree with me, it's immaterial to what the county receives, then that might be the carrot that,
Yeah, I
That's kind of
agree
what
with
I'm
you.
almost looking
Yeah.
at it from that way, you know, they
Yeah.
bought it as is.
As is
and
means as
Rather
is.
Caleb get involved,
Yeah,
and we
'cause he
go
just-
farther.
yeah. He just leased it, I don't.
Why is he upset though? If that was part of the agreement, how can you be upset when you terminate it that you gotta fix it?
because they have to spend money. You mean you read it? I don't know, I can't read his mind. All I'm saying is, we had very valid reasons for wanting that, and like I said,
We never knew he might be leasing it in years to come.
or we could have been renting it out to somebody else, in
Yeah.
which case it benefited the county, but having chosen to sell it as is, it's not gonna impact the county economically, 1 cent more, 1 cent less.
If I was a buyer though, and you knew that was in there, I bought it as is, I get that, but everybody had an obligation. That guy had an obligation when he signed the lease. I can see it both ways. I'd hold him to the obligation. You leased it, you agreed, now fix it. Instead of, because it seems like we're just walking away because it's easy if we tell him not to do it and no harm, no foul.
I'm under your management, so you make the call.
I mean, from our standpoint, the closing would be affected because we haven't got a response back of what it takes on it and a dollar amount and a time frame where the closing might take place.
Closing's supposed to be,
Before the 19th or 16th or something?
I think the closing's supposed to be like the 9th, but that isn't gonna happen because
Right.
we're not gonna get
Right.
the subdivision approval affects 2 of the tracks. It affects 2 just as much as it does 3, because the minor subdivision is the last exception to 2.
Right.
And so if we were to, even though we have the description, if we were to close and try to record that deed, they're gonna say, well, isn't that in effect making the subdivision before you've got approval? Because you're recording a different legal description of record. That's not been a legal description previously. So I think it holds up both of those tracks.
guess you just close it then.
I mean, you'll meet again before maybe we can close those things if you want to think about it, but if you, even
Well,
though,
the
yeah,
meeting-
you should
the meeting's
do it,
on the
but it's not going
16th.
to impact the county. You know, one might say, well, what's the point of doing it, other than it's what he agreed to do. But like I said, from the county standpoint, the point of the agreement was, at the end of the lease, they still own it and want to re-let it.
They did buy it as is, so I'm fine with that.
Okay. Let's move forward
So
in
moved.
that sense.
Yep.
Sound
Motion
good.
second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0.
And I prepared that for all 3 commissioners to sign that termination of cash lease agreement. Okay, the next thing is, once we get that done, I've also got the deeds approved, and I prepared those for signature by all 3 commissioners. I brought those in the case you wanted to sign those today, as opposed to all of you having to be at closings whenever they were held. I'm just saying, that's your option if you are
I'd rather-
fine with signing the deeds, and then I have those for you to sign as well.
Yeah.
Knock it out and get it done today.
You go there.
Yeah, let's knock it out today.
So we'll need a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0. Anything else?
I don't know, I don't think so.
Seems like it. I mean, we had so much paperwork coming back and forth, so. Oh, what else do you have?
Nothing.
Okay. I did have one thing, and I briefly attended the health board meeting on Thursday. I think Jessica was there, thank you. And there was a description given to me regarding the regional sewer district and possibly an issue north of Ossian. With that being, on the side note, the regional sewer district did their application for Liberty Center and Murray and received close to $500,000 in funds, and will be reimbursing, from the state, will receive monies in the 400 and, I'm gonna guess 70,000, 75,000 range. Lisa might have the exact dollar amount, but some administrative fees are not covered through the agreement, and I know there was some discussion regarding paying county back. I mean, the lease is not for another year and a half or so. But when I see a sewer line going in the ground, I picture economic development. I see that potential that we're gonna have multiple connections over and above eventually on this line. And I would support using lit funds to just make up the difference. I'm not saying that we're gonna give them so they have additional. And this way, it doesn't add dollars to monthly bills and
What's
anything else.
what's that difference? Again, do you know?
Between 25 and 30 grand.
25.
Yeah, I don't know the exact amount. I'm thinking 27 or 28, but it could be. But I would encourage or
But
support
using those lit
doing,
funds.
we have a,
So it doesn't go to user fees?
correct,
Okay.
right. And then if we do have support there, also there's the Craigville line, and if we ever do something with this Ossian thing that came up, maybe do it one more time, but just kind of depends, wait and see type of thing, but consider it down if it's needed for Craigville. So this administrative things and the way it's set up with SRF, they want all the monies to go to pipe in the ground, but when you don't have an operational RSD in place yet, which is just starting, some of those initial things need to be covered, or we've been covering a few incidentals over the last couple of years, but we're not paying the $500,000. It's 20 grand, 50 grand, 30 grand, or whatever it might be. But I would support that. It doesn't have to be done today, but as long as there's something in the record that shows support, because we're not going to commit the dollars today, but the RSD, I believe, has a meeting in a week. So something on the record that we will support picking up that, I don't know. if you
Yeah,
have
as it
any
is right now,
discussions.
what I know is that, I would be in support of that as it stands.
I think it's a no-brainer. Going out to Craigville, and I'd talked to some of the people off the county council too, that we can't just look at that as it's a connection to Craigville or a connection to Ossian. It's all those properties in between that now could be residential or whatever
I
hookup,
mean, if you figure from Bluffton on the east side out to, it would be 700, you'd be at 3.5 miles roughly, and then you're gonna be going north another 2.5 miles.
Yeah, that
So
could be
you've
expansion.
you're setting yourself up for some good things. So,
Yeah, I'm for that.
do you need that in the form of a motion, Lisa, or would you prefer?
Sure.
Okay,
So moved.
Seconded.
all in favor, aye.
Aye.
So let's just say not to exceed 30,000, so.
NTE 30, all right.
Okay.
I've got one more thing. I got an email last evening from Mark Burry, the RSD president, sent me a letter that he wants to send to county council and to the commissioners. And I didn't open that till like 11:30, and I don't know. I'm gonna read it and forward it on to council and commissioners. It looked to me like it was a letter setting out the historical background for the formation of the RSD and this and that. But I know council had asked me to look at a resolution that RSD had prepared with respect to the use of the line of credit, and council had agreed to loan them $500,000 out of the rainy day fund, and that was going to be evidenced by notes, and the notes and the agreement provided that whenever they received any funds, the funds were to be applied on the loans. And the gist of the resolution that they proposed to council was, well, how about we just pay you the interest and we'll keep the principal? And I said, in my opinion, I didn't think that was good, because the notes all said that they're payable when they receive money, or in any event, like within 3 years or so. And I said, if you're holding on to those notes, you've got notes that are, on the face of it, in default. And my suggestion was, if council is willing to continue that, then they just pay it all on their notes. We apply it to interest first, and any difference would reduce the principal of their line of credit from $500,000 to whatever it would be. And they could apply for and get that on a new note. And so that came up. Mark said, well, did you see my resolution? I said, well, yeah, the one I didn't like. And he said, oh, well, here's the one I revised. I forgot to send it to you. Well, that would help. So he sent it to me, and I made some changes on that yet. But I think we've got it worked out. Mark and I, subject to council seeing it, and I've copied them on that. But the point being, I have pointed out in emails to council is we're also ignoring your ARPA plan, which provided $2 million of ARPA funds. And so that's in the county's ARPA plan, but without any particulars as to how that's being used. When Nate was before the commissioners discussing that, requesting the $2 million, I thought it was seed money that could be multiplied. I mean, if you supply $100,000 to get another $2 million loan, that sounds great, but I'm just saying, I don't know the answer, but I'm just saying council and commissioners need to consider that use of the ARPA funds.
From a multiplying factor.
Well, also, at least the feeling I got from council was, they were concerned of the rainy day for preservation of that. So I'm just saying that's additional source for both commissioners and council to consider. As I recall, the ARPA funds is the council and commissioners have to agree on it, and then pursuant to that agreement, then the council would actually make appropriations for the use of that money. We're talking about money that we don't have now, but we'll have in May, maybe, another $2.7 million.
All right, anything else, guys? Jessica? Dale? Audience? Yes, come forward, sure.
Thank you. My name's Wiley Gaber, and I live on 396 East 300 North. And I wanted to show you a picture of the bridge. If you're taking 116 to Murray, right before you get to Murray is 300, and there's a bridge right there.
Correct.
And I didn't know whether this was, naturally, I didn't know whether this was some high schools. You can pass that for me? It's not a Norwell blue, but it's a baby blue, like the UN type of blue, painted on the bridge in squares. And I didn't know whether that was the county or the state designating maintenance on the bridge. So that's why I was bringing it to council to find out.
I think it was graffiti.
I would say graffiti and somebody covered it up. That's what it appears.
Yeah.
Can that be sandblasted off, or?
With paint on concrete, it isn't really easy to get off. It would have to be sandblasted. Water usually doesn't remove it. It was covered up, and I think it may have had words behind it, and somebody corrected the words.
Thank goodness for that. Other than being the blue color, maybe we can get a charcoal, or we can get a grayish. And, yeah, go back over it with the blue behind it.
Maybe just paint it instead of trying to sandblast it.
Which brought to my question was, could we have possibly a program of Adopt a Bridge where a civic organization, a 4-H club, a church, a community group, an individual could adopt a bridge similar to the highway, Adopt a Highway, where if there was a dead animal or a drain clogged up, they would notify the county. But if there was just general trash, they would take it upon their responsibility to pick it up. Now, there might be a legal or education for you have to wear a high vis and only do it in the daylight. But it would be another civic way to give something back to the county, and it would save the county a little bit of money because, for instance, during the summer when the grass is growing and you've got 2 tractors and they can't cut everything at once, but some of the neighbors in the area might want to cut the grass up to the bridge. And not all bridges are over water, right? You get 20 feet, it makes a bridge, right? And there's 200 and something bridges in town, in the county?
No, there's 135 bridges, I believe. No, yeah. Like 1,700 culverts or something like that.
On
But,
the
You guys were both in Indianapolis with the
They
commissioners
count
conference?
structures, even a culvert underneath the road is called a small structure.
I haven't.
And they're all supposedly inventoried, and numbered.
All right, well, my point is just to have a civic group would help the county.
Nate's not here, and he's our point person this morning. He's
Okay.
ill. But I think if Sean and
He's
Nate,
just asking if we can have a policy or something to put forth where Boy Scouts can volunteer to do something like this.
have any other superintendents, you were down in Indy last week.
I have not heard of anybody doing it.
Let's
Other than safety.
Yeah,
around
let's
the river.
facilitate, maybe check with a couple of neighboring counties if they've had that inquiry.
Okay.
And if that's something we can do logistically and legally. So we'll follow up. And
Appreciate that.
if you will leave a phone number and an address with Lisa,
Mhm.
that we can follow up with you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
All right. Audience? Anything? You're a new face, Mr. Eckler, so.
I was here
Yeah.
that day you were on Zoom. So I'm
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. If not, we can adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
We're done. Thank you.